True change doesn't start with noise, it begins in silence. It's not about proving a point or showing anyone how much you've changed. It's about reaching that quiet moment when the weight of who you used to be becomes too heavy to carry. One day, you simply stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. You stop checking who noticed your absence, who viewed your story, who still talks about you. Instead, you begin turning inward. You start rebuilding your sense of self piece by piece, not out of bitterness, but out of necessity. The same man who once waited for a message that never came now waits for nothing but progress. He checks his goals instead of his phone. He looks at his reflection, not to see who left him, but to remember who he's becoming. At first, it feels strange, this quiet growth that no one applauds. You're used to the noise, the drama, the emotional highs and lows. But now there's just you, your thoughts, and the small daily wins that no one sees. Over time, that stillness becomes addictive. You realize you no longer need to announce your revolution, your energy speaks louder than any update ever could. And while the world moves on, she notices something different. Maybe she scrolls past your name or hears about you in passing, but something feels unfamiliar. You've changed. Not in the superficial, I'm doing fine kind of way, but in the deep, unshakable way that comes from healing in silence. You're not trying to get over her anymore. You've grown past her. That's the difference. You stopped chasing closure and started creating peace. And in that peace, you became someone new, someone she can no longer reach, and maybe, someone she'll never forget. There's a certain power that comes from surviving what was meant to destroy you. At first, the calm feels foreign, almost uncomfortable, because you were once defined by reaction, by trying to explain yourself, fix things, make peace where there was chaos. But something changes after the storm passes. You stop chasing understanding from people who never tried to hear you. You stop reacting to every word, every memory, every reminder. You start realizing that not everything deserves your energy, and that peace isn't something you find outside of yourself, it's something you protect within. That realization reshapes you. She remembers the man who used to care too much, the one who overthought every silence, every distant tone, every unread message. She remembers the way you used to explain yourself, trying to be understood, trying to prove your intentions. But now, when she looks at you or hears of you, she notices something she can't quite name. You've stopped trying to fix what broke you. You've accepted that some things end without apology, and that not every truth needs to be spoken aloud. You've become still. That stillness is what unsettles her most. Because your calm isn't cold, it's complete. It carries the weight of everything you've already faced and survived. You've learned that silence can be louder than any reaction, that no reply is sometimes the strongest statement of all. Your peace no longer depends on how she feels about you, it depends on how you feel about yourself. And when she senses that her words no longer have the power to disturb your balance, she feels something she never expected to lose. Not of you as a person, but of her influence. Because once a man finds that kind of peace, no one can shake him again. There comes a time when you stop needing to be seen and start choosing to build something worth seeing. In the beginning, you might not notice the shift, it happens quietly. You wake up one morning and realize that the things that used to consume your attention no longer matter. You stop waiting for a message, for a compliment, for validation that you're doing well. You stop checking if she noticed your progress, if she still thinks about you, if she regrets anything. Instead, your attention turns inward. You begin to focus on yourself with the same energy you once gave away so freely. It's not about indifference, it's about direction. You start filling your days with purpose instead of overthinking. The gym, the work, the late nights planning your future, they all become your therapy. You realize that your worth was never meant to be confirmed by anyone else's acknowledgement. It was always something you had to see for yourself. And slowly, that internal focus becomes visible to the world around you. You stand differently. You speak with more certainty. You carry an energy that can't be faked. She might notice it in passing, the way your presence feels more composed, more intentional. You're no longer driven by the need to be chosen. You're driven by vision. And that makes you powerful in a way you never were before. Because when a man stops chasing validation and starts building his purpose, he becomes magnetic. He no longer moves out of emotion, he moves out of alignment. And that's when everything changes. The glow she once gave you through attention now burns from within. You're not trying to impress anyone anymore. You're simply becoming the man you were always meant to be. One day, she sees you again. Maybe it's through a post, maybe a friend mentions your name, or maybe your paths cross by chance. Whatever the moment looks like, it hits her differently. Because the man standing before her is not the man she once knew. There's a calmness in your eyes, a steadiness in your tone, a quiet strength that wasn't there before. She can feel it, even if you say nothing. You're not carrying the weight of what happened anymore. The anger, the confusion, the endless what-ifs, they're gone. You've traded them for peace. And that peace unsettles her in a way words can't describe. Because it reflects something back at her, a version of herself she avoided confronting. She once had access to your heart, your time, your vulnerability. Now she's a witness to your growth from a distance. She sees confidence where there was once uncertainty, purpose where there was once pain. You're no longer trying to be understood or remembered. You're simply living, moving forward with a quiet dignity that speaks louder than any words ever could. In that reflection, she sees her choices. Not as mistakes, but as reminders of what she took for granted. Your growth becomes a mirror, and that mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't accuse her, it only reveals the truth that while she was busy searching for something else, you were becoming someone new. And that realization stings, because you didn't rise to make her regret it. You rose because you finally saw your own worth. The peace she now admires is the same peace she never helped you build. And that's what makes it powerful. You didn't move to prove anything. You healed so deeply that your evolution became its own kind of revenge. True distance isn't measured by miles or time, it's felt in energy. It begins the moment you stop waking up with her name on your mind, when her absence no longer feels like a wound but like space you've learned to breathe in. You stop checking your phone, stop wondering if she'll reach out, stop creating imaginary conversations in your head. That ache that once lived quietly in your chest starts to fade, replaced by something calmer, lighter, freer. You don't hate her. You don't miss her. You simply accept that it is what it is, and that acceptance becomes your freedom. She can feel it, even if you've said nothing. Women are intuitive, they sense shifts in energy. They know when your silence carries pain and when it carries peace. And when she feels that your silence is no longer about longing but about strength, something inside her stirs. Because she remembers the man who once reached out, who once needed to be understood. But now, your distance isn't a punishment, it's a reflection of growth. You're not withholding affection, you're protecting your energy. That kind of distance can't be faked, it radiates calm detachment, the kind that comes from healing, not bitterness. You've learned that you don't need to be chosen to be at peace. You've stopped waiting to be seen because you finally see yourself. And when she realizes that your world no longer bends around her, that your energy no longer reaches out for connection, she feels a different kind of loss, not of love, but of relevance. You've become untouchable, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring in a way that no longer depends on her. That's when real distance begins, when peace replaces attachment. Letting go doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quiet decision, a subtle shift deep inside when you stop holding on with the same intensity. You stop trying to rewrite the past in your head, stop wondering what could have been, stop rehearsing the same conversations hoping they'll end differently this time. Instead, you start living in the reality that's in front of you, not the one you keep imagining. It's not an easy process. There are days when your mind still drifts back, when memories sneak in uninvited. But slowly, you begin to realize that peace isn't found by changing what happened, it's found by accepting it. You start to see that some endings aren't punishments, they're protection. The people you lost weren't taken from you, they were removed for your growth. You stop viewing every departure as rejection and start understanding it as redirection. You begin to trust that what's meant for you won't need to be forced, and what leaves was never truly yours to keep. That awareness becomes your quiet armor, something no one can take away from you. She might sense it too, the shift in your energy. You're no longer waiting for her to come back or trying to show her you're okay. You've let go, not in bitterness, but in grace. You wish her well, but you no longer tie your peace to her presence. You no longer crave closure because you've found it within yourself. That's the kind of letting go that unsettles people, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything. Because when you learn to release without resentment, you reclaim your power. You learn to love without attachment, to care without losing your center. And that's when you truly become free. When a man finally reclaims his peace, something powerful happens. He rediscovers himself. The noise that once filled his mind begins to fade, replaced by clarity and quiet strength. You stop chasing people who never appreciated your effort, stop explaining yourself to those who never truly listened. There's a certain calm that comes when you realize your worth no longer needs to be proven. You start leading your life again instead of reacting to it. Each decision, each boundary, each moment of discipline becomes an act of self-respect. This is the rebirth of masculine energy, the kind that doesn't shout or demand attention but commands presence through stillness. You don't need validation to feel powerful. You become powerful because your actions align with your values. You no longer move to be seen, you move with purpose. The same energy that once chased is now content to attract. You begin to understand that strength isn't about control, it's about composure. People notice the difference, especially her. She remembers the version of you that tried too hard to be understood, the one who overextended just to prove loyalty. Now, you're steady, unbothered, grounded. Your silence carries weight because it comes from confidence, not pride. You've learned that peace is a form of dominance, one that doesn't need aggression to be felt. You're not trying to win anymore, you're simply standing in your truth. And when she sees that, when she feels that presence that no longer depends on her recognition, she understands something profound. You've become the kind of man who no longer needs her energy to feel whole. You've evolved beyond validation, beyond approval, into a place of self-mastery. That's what true masculine rebirth looks like, quiet power rooted in peace. You were never really losing her, you were finding yourself. It just took time and pain for you to see it. In the beginning, it felt like everything was falling apart. The silence, the distance, the unanswered questions, they all seemed like signs of failure. But slowly, you started to realize that every moment of heartbreak was actually pushing you toward a deeper truth. She wasn't your ending. She was your awakening. Her absence forced you to face the reflection you had been avoiding for so long. You were stripped of your illusions, your ego, and the fantasies you built to feel safe. What was left was something raw, honest, and real you. You began to see that the peace you had been chasing in her was never meant to come from her. It was something you were always meant to build within yourself. You stopped asking why she changed, why she left, or why things didn't work out. Instead, you started asking better questions. Who am I becoming? What am I learning? Where am I going? That shift changed everything. Your healing wasn't about proving that you could live without her. It was about realizing you were whole before she ever arrived. The man you are now didn't emerge from bitterness, he was born from clarity. She didn't change you, you changed yourself. You rebuilt your foundation from the pieces that were left behind. And that version of you, calm, grounded, and untouchable, became the most powerful response you could ever give. Not revenge, not silence out of pride, but peace built through understanding. Because peace says everything that words never could. And when she sees that version of you, she finally understands you never lost her. You just found your way back home to yourself. In the end, everything comes full circle. You realize it was never really about her, it was always about you returning to yourself. For so long, you searched for belonging in someone else's eyes, for peace in someone else's arms, for validation in someone else's approval. But now you understand that what you were seeking wasn't love from another, it was connection with your own soul. The silence that once felt lonely has become your sanctuary. The solitude that once felt like punishment has become your strength. You no longer crave closure, because you've learned that peace isn't something you wait for, it's something you decide to create. Each day, you move a little lighter, a little more certain of who you are. You've stopped chasing, stopped proving, stopped explaining. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your heart, and not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. You've built a life that feels like home, not because it's perfect, But because it's yours, the same energy that once scattered in every direction has returned inward, forming a steady fire that doesn't burn for attention, it burns for purpose. And when she sees you now peaceful, steady, and content, she finally understands what you discovered long before she did. You didn't outgrow her out of anger or pride. You outgrew the version of yourself that needed her to feel whole. You stopped searching for love as escape and started becoming love itself. Your silence, your discipline, your peace, they all tell the story words never could. You didn't win by walking away. You won by coming home to your truth, to your balance, to your peace. In that return, you find everything you were ever looking for. You find yourself.